Hi, I'm Keys. Just wanted to thank you guys for taking a second to watch this video and want to tell you a little bit about my family and the journey of how we've gotten to where we are right now. We have 4 awesome children. We've been very, very blessed to have 4 kids, all through adoption. And each of their stories, it's kind of a miracle. Each adoption is kind of a miracle, how the specific things that have to kind of come into place to make them happen is each child has a very interesting story. But we got to adoption as something that we'd always planned on doing, something we've always kind of felt called to do. Interestingly enough, we wanted to adopt 2 kids was kind of our initial plan. We thought we'll have 2 biological kids, go to China, we'll adopt a kid or 2 through China, and then that's it, we're done. That didn't work out at all. We couldn't conceive children biologically. We did the IVF thing, a lot of different things, but we decided, well, maybe that's just our sign that we need to start adopting earlier than we thought. So we started adopting. We adopted Caleb first. We adopted Emily second, then Benjamin from China, and then finally Clara from China as well, just a little over a year ago. Each kid has their own special needs, their own special things that we're working on, but definitely none more than Clara. Clara's been our little miracle. We knew when we adopted her we were going to have our hands full. As a matter of fact, our adoption agency essentially tried to convince us not to adopt her because they knew that she had some significant issues, and they weren't sure who would be able to handle those issues. But for us, the second we saw Clara online, we knew she was our daughter. So we basically told our adoption agency to just shove it. We're going to China and we are adopting our little girl. So we adopted Clara. When we got her, she was 18 pounds, almost 3 years old and 18 pounds. Just this tiny little girl. And she's grown so well for us. In a little over a year, she went from about 18 pounds to 25 pounds. Started walking, laughing, jumping. It's just been a magical transformation of this little girl, who we're so lucky to call our daughter. About a month ago, things started kind of getting weird for us. So Clara has what's called an extreme oral aversion. She doesn't like things in or near her mouth. So that's a big reason of why she was so malnourished. She would not eat. Really, she wouldn't even drink milk. They were giving her sugar water in China and essentially trying to force feed some porridge into her. So through a lot of work, my wife and I, we finally were able to get her to drink bottles. So we have this milk concoction basically that we're able to give her that gives her all the nutrients she needs, all the fat, all that good stuff that she needs to really grow and get stronger. And so that was working for a while. And then about a month ago, things just stopped working. She stopped wanting to eat. She grew extremely constipated. We weren't sure what was going on. So we took her to the doctor here in St. Louis. And they basically hooked a tube up from her nose all the way down to her stomach and pumped her full of laxatives to get her cleaned out. So we thought, great, situation's done, right? She's gonna be good, we're gonna give her a bottle. Can't give her a bottle yet because we have to keep the tube in her because she's not drinking anything from the bottle. So through the tube, we're feeding her. About 2 days later, things just got really, really weird and scary. She wasn't acting like herself. She was very dizzy. She started throwing up about 13 times in like 3-4 hours. She was throwing up. Took her to the emergency room. They basically told us the first time, she's got a cold, it's nothing to worry about. They gave us some anti-nausea medication, brought her home. 2 days later, we were in the ER again. She'd lost over a pound of weight, which is a lot for her, obviously. They admitted us to the GI unit. The idea was, well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the tube out. We're gonna put a G button on her stomach, which is basically like a tube that goes straight to her stomach so we can bypass her mouth completely. Get her the nutrition that she needs. She's gonna continue to grow up. We'll take the button out whenever we can. So that's when things got really scary. So my wife took Clara to the hospital. I was at home with our kids. While she was in the hospital, Clara stopped breathing. We were really lucky. We were extremely lucky to have 20 or 30 people, literally 20 or 30 people in the room. A ton of doctors from the ICU and the GI floor were there, just trying to revive our little girl, get fluids in her so she could continue to breathe. She was very dehydrated. Finally, what they decided to do was they had to drill into her bone to get an IV, and they could not get an IV into her. Since then, my little girl hasn't really been awake. She hasn't been breathing on her own. But she's strong. She's so stinking strong. We've been in the hospital for about a week now. This most recent trip, and since then, you know, she stopped breathing. Had to have the breathing tube, all that stuff. She's been on, I can't even tell you how many different medications, but we've had 2 really good days now. 2 really hope-filled days. For the first time, my wife and I think, finally been able to just kind of relax a little bit. We're still scared, but she's strong, and we're trying to be strong. And that's, I guess, kind of where hopefully you all come in. What I'm asking, what my family's asking for is your thoughts and your prayers. They mean the world to us. If you're not a praying type, that's fine. Send us your vibes, send us your thoughts. We'll take whatever we can get at this point. We're hopeful that Clara's going to recover. We're not 100% sure what that entails. We're very fortunate to be in a city with an awesome children's hospital with a great cardiac unit. They're working on my little girl like crazy. So if you guys would be so kind as to just keep us in mind, you know, send us your thoughts and your prayers. We would really appreciate that. And hopefully Clara will get better real soon, and we can all celebrate her recovery together. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll talk to you later.